does anyone of the among the panelists have anything that you burning something? Of course, we could talk for a very long time, and that's the difficulty. But does anyone want to pose a question to another that we can do in a relatively short amount of time? Okay, well then I'm going to take it that what we want to do, our audience, our participants, and that is going to be moderated by Dr. Randall Palmer. There you go.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good. I first have to say what a delight it has been to listen to these presentations. I unfortunately have had a very spotty internet connection, so if I go off, it is not because I have been offended, but because of technological difficulties, and I'll probably be right back, and you will continue your conversations without me, I trust. The first question that we have from the audience is regarding a historical question. The question comes from Ali Marashi, and it asks, historically, has not peace been preached by those who are in minorities in order to defend themselves against offenses from majorities? How is it that we have not developed governmental laws and strictures based on these teachings for majorities? The underlying question really is, historically, these religious traditions have influenced governments. Why have not these governments actually implemented these teachings on peace within the structure of politics? That's a loaded question. Go for it. All of you, please, each one of you, respond from your own point of view. Did you hear the questions? Yes, go ahead, Mohammed.
Thank you. Very good question.
Dr. Mokhtar, go ahead.
Yeah. That's the reality of life. Historically, every society is shaped by the religion, the identity, national identity, or ethnical identity, usually shaped by religion. Therefore, any different religion or ideas or new religious doctrine that appeared in the society, they were not, the society or the state was not in a situation to accept that, used to suppress. This is the reality of history. In several verses of the Holy Quran, we read that they suppressed the prophets and declared, if you don't abandon your belief, you will be faced by two punishments. The lesser punishment was to send them to exile, to expel them from the country, from the society. The greater punishment was to be executed. This is the reality of our life, which has been recorded in the history and also confirmed by in the Quran in several verses. In one surah we have Surah Al-Buruj in the Holy Quran, which indicates the suppression and execution of the Christian community who lived in Yemen, in the south of Arabia, by the Jewish government, and also which consequently they expanded to an international war and interference by the Aksumite kingdom from Abyssinia, from Habasha or Ethiopia today, which is also recorded in the Holy Quran. Therefore, this is the reality. For that reason, the first step to make peace, as I mentioned, was to tolerate the minorities instead of putting them or sending them to exile, expelling them from the territory or from the country, or instead of executing the minorities. The tolerance was a mechanism to accept them and tolerate them. Finally, today, we interpret tolerance as an acceptance of the other and recognizing the other as it is, and also appreciating the diversity, as I understand from the verse in Surah Al-Hujurat. This is for the future. We have to accept them. We have to appreciate the other as they are, and also in order to respect their rights. And peace will be based on this, respecting the right of the other. As long as we don't respect the right of the other, there will not be peace. Thank you.
All right, we need responses from you others. One conversation, so please respond to what we just heard. Any one of you, please take a response.
May I say something?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. I think it's not that always minorities have been deprived of their rights or peace. I think we have many good cases for minorities being given peace. And for example, in the Muslim world, for centuries, religious minorities lived peacefully, and also vice versa. We have many countries today that Muslim minorities are living in peace with maybe Christian majority. Yes, it has not always been the case, but we have had many good cases for centuries. For example, in Iran, for more than 1,000 years, we have peaceful life with our Christian brothers and sisters, and Jewish brothers and sisters, and Zoroastrians. So, but power is something that can lead very easily to blindness with respect to the rights of minorities or people who don't agree with you, unless we work really on our spirituality. This is why I said the Quranic plan for peace is partly engaging our ethical and spiritual life. The Quran says you need to be witnesses for the truth even against yourselves. وَلَوْ عَلَىٰ أَنفُسِكُمْ. So I need to be that sincere, which is not easy, and this is why it's a lifelong challenge to work on our sincerity, so that if something is against me or my group or my friends, but it is true and just, I accept. And therefore, I think we need to introduce a spirituality to politics. We need to benefit from religious spirituality in politics. If politics is left only for politics, free from God, free from God-wariness, free from sincerity, humility, contentment, then it can become very dangerous. Then not only minority, even majority may not get their rights. Sometimes even a majority of people are not given their rights, and therefore we need a kind of politics that is inspired and also directed by love for God and love for people.
I think that is a remarkable statement that is very contested in the world today. And I love the fact that you brought it out so explicitly. So many places claim that religious truth claims are at the contested truth claims are at the basis for political difficulty. Roger Williams, a famous character in American religious history, was a Protestant who said famously, "Truth and peace are cousins who do not meet very often, except in the presence of their other cousin, patience." I'd like you to respond to a question from the audience, which is, it seems that the common good itself, or ethical truth itself, are contested issues all over the world. It says there is consensus among people about many things, but the common good is not so common. How would you discuss this problem of contested ethics, contested good, contested truth, contested religious claims? How can they be taken seriously and still have peace? And by the way, any one of you, Lucinda, go for it.
I am a great fan of an admonition from Rowan Williams, the former Archbishop of Canterbury some years ago, who often stressed the importance of improving the quality of our disagreements. And so it is not so much that we must come to consensus, but that we learn to disagree well, that we learn to compare appropriately, that we, in the process, create what he would refer to as virtuous circles rather than vicious circles. And so it's a complicated process, but that, I believe, is the goal, to improve the quality of our disagreements.
Help us a little bit more with that complicated process. Could you, what would you suggest that process entail?
Many things, and I won't go into a huge list today, but I would just point out one thing that I do think helps is to learn to differentiate between formal and functional comparisons, to be careful about what we compare to what, and to consider that there might be another way to look at the two things that we're bringing to the table. Another is related to that is to, I think I may have just lost my train of thought. Let me try to pull that back. That in the comparing, that we compare best practice to best practice. That we again that we are willing to be equitable in the way we look at each other. Compare best to best instead of our best behavior or our best practice to our to the other communities worse. So again, parity and generosity and being willing to improve the quality of our disagreement if we cannot come to consensus.
Thank you. Does anyone else have a comment?
Randall?
Dr. Landau. Yes,
Yeah.
go for it.
Yeah, thank you. I want to reinforce Dr. Shumali's conviction that we need spiritual remedies for our social and political pathologies, which are rampant and very contagious. And in terms of a discourse that promotes peace, it can, and especially when people are arguing disagreeably rather than agreeing to disagree agreeably, one of the simplest practices is, instead of saying yes but, which already inclines the other person to get into a defensive posture, say yes and. That's a simple practice, but not enough people do it, and that relates to what I was saying about truth as dialectical and dialogical rather than dogmatic. If you think that your point of view has a monopoly on the truth, then you got to work on your ego. That's epistemological arrogance, which we cannot afford, especially as people of faith, because God surpasses in wisdom and knowledge anything we can claim.
Mhm.
Would someone else like to join in? Mohammed, you have a comment you'd like to make.
Yes. I actually wanted to say something that Dr. Lando also mentioned, that wisdom is very important. And if we don't have wisdom, then we may take differences as good reasons to boycott each other or, God forbid, to fight each other. But it's with wisdom, which involves, among many things, how to evaluate our differences. Because for some people who lack wisdom, as soon as they see one difference, two differences, they say we don't agree, we don't have anything in common. Sometimes people, for example, even you see couples have been married, for tens of years. Then after 2-3 differences, they say we have nothing in common, we cannot live together. But wisdom tells us how to evaluate everything on its own, and don't let one thing or two things preoccupy all your mind and heart. Many times wars and conflicts happen despite massive commonalities. At least the minimum, which by itself is great, at least we are sharing humanity. How can we find any difference bigger than our shared humanity? If we really have wisdom, I don't think we would never reach a point that we say our differences are greater than our commonalities. And we would never find among the means for dealing with our differences war as a productive means. So, wisdom in evaluating our differences, wisdom in choosing the best methods for dealing with our differences, and this certainly means that religious people can contribute a lot if they are sincere, if they are really humble, if they are listening to God. They can contribute a lot to building peace in the world.
Amen.
Thank you.
Amen. Let me, there is a very interesting question here that really pushes the argument that you just made. What if someone had a disease that would destroy humanity? Would it be wise to invite that person to come into association. There's an idea there, apparently, of contamination, of religious untruth contaminating humanity. I think the subtle question here, are there negative beliefs or untruths that are so dangerous that we ought to not allow that conversation at all, that we ought to violently even keep it from happening because it could either contaminate the soul or the society? What are the limits, if you will, to this discussion we're having now on dialectical openness to the other?
May I say something?
Please.
There can be, of course, exceptions, but I think the general rule is that we should be happy to get into meaningful dialogue with everyone. Exceptions can be there, but the general rule is to be happy for dialogue with everyone, even with the people that not only we disagree with them, but they have very bad record of injustice, of oppression. A very important case in the Quran is Moses and Pharaoh. God says to Moses, go and speak to Pharaoh. One of the very first things that God asked from Moses was that he should go and talk to Pharaoh. In our hadith, we find that the reason is because if he was waiting for Pharaoh, Pharaoh would never, come and talk to Moses. He's so proud of himself and arrogant. But God asked his chosen servant, his prophet and messenger, to meet Pharaoh, to go to Pharaoh's place, not even to an equal place, and speak to him, but with a soft word and language. قُولَا لَهُ قَوْلًا لَيِّنًا لَعَلَّهُ يَتَذَكَّرُ أَوْ يَخْشَى. Maybe, God says, maybe his heart becomes soft. Of course, God knew that Pharaoh is not going to change. God knows the history and future the same way. But he says to Moses, and then through this to all of us, that never dismiss this chance. Never say, this person is so corrupt that he's not going to, listen. It's not going to change. لَعَلَّهُ يَتَذَكَّرُ يَخْشَى. Maybe he remembers. Maybe he goes back to his conscience. So, I think there can be exceptions. I'm not saying 100% is the same, but the general rule is we should be ready for very, very difficult conversations, even with the people who have criminal record like Pharaoh. People who claim to be God. Pharaoh used to claim that he is God. But we should be ready to get into dialogue and conversation with them. And of course, there are lots of other things to observe, but this idea that I only talk to some people and not other people, I talk to the people that I agree with them and share with them, I don't talk to the people that I disagree, this idea is not, I think, very wise.
I think this goes very well with Dr. Shamali's ending statement of having beautiful arguments, right?
Yeah.
The most difficult are the most beautiful in that sense. I remember, if I can insert one very quick note, I had a conversation with Dr. Al-Hittar in Yemen many years ago on this question, and he answered the question, look, if God can have a conversation with Iblis, with the devil, I can talk with someone who disagrees with me in a dangerous way here. So I think that in the spirit of what you just said, we certainly learn that from the Quranic scriptures. Do we have a Christian or Jewish response to that one?
Yeah,
Or do we want to move on?
I would
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was very appreciative of the bringing up of the notion of ihsan, the doing of the beautiful, and one, Ashadali wished for his followers that they might dwell among people who do the beautiful, ihsan, and there's a parallel concept in Christianity, tokalon, the beautiful, the good. We hope to have those that we care about dwell among the people who do the beautiful, but that's not going to happen if we don't help to create that environment ourselves. And so it invites the possibility of really exploring deep differences, and that's the challenge that keeps me going. And I look forward to more conversations like this one, and in each case there's so much to learn.
Thank you. Dr. Landau, one comment here regarding your remarks. The question is, Dr. Landau is emphasizing forgiveness almost as much as Christians do. This is a very enlightening presentation. How does the Jewish faith deal with the idea of loving the enemy and yet obtaining justice?
Well, I'm conscious of the time, so I don't think I can do justice to this question since we're already over the 90 minutes. I think Rabbi Sachs in his chapter on forgiveness emphasizes that it is not simply a Christian, quote-unquote, Christian virtue, that people of different faiths, including Jews, also hold up forgiveness as a challenging but necessary element in healing grievances before they become they lead to estrangement and even hostility. First of all, I consider Jesus of Nazareth as one of my rabbinic teachers. So when he preached, taught the love of enemies, I'll say he was speaking out of rabbinic wisdom. But it's clear that normative Judaism, who sadly didn't accept him as a Jewish prophet or teacher, for the most part, emphasized justice over forgiveness. And I think justice is absolutely necessary, inclusive justice to heal conflict, but it is not sufficient. That you need rahmah, mercy, compassion, in order to really move from, let's say, hudna or sulha, just a cessation of fighting, to musalaha, real reconciliation of hearts. And that requires emulating the divine nature of Al-Ghafur, one of the Asma al-Husna, the 99 beautiful names of the divine Allah, the all-forgiving. That's implanted in us, but our own egos and resentments get in the way. So we have to work on ourselves. World peace begins with each and every one of us.
Well, thank you so much. I think this could go on for another 2 hours. I feel the only person I might have slighted in this is Dr. Shamali. You didn't participate a lot in this conversation. So do you have a final statement you would like to make?
Mean?
Let's see.
Me, Somali or? Yeah.
Dr. Whoops. Please help me. My screen is down. I don't have the participant up. Dr. Mosafari.
Dr. Mosafari.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Just I want to add one sentence concerning the truth claim. As long as each community and each religion and every ideology claiming the truth, we have to tolerate. We have to recognize the rights of the other and appreciate the differences. But there are some ideologies that we have to limit this general rule. The intolerant ideologies, like colonial ideologies, like fascism, like Nazism. These are the ideologies that cannot be tolerated, and in the 1981 United Nations Declaration on the Elimination of all forms of religious intolerance indicated clearly that this kind of ideologies cannot be tolerated. Therefore, there is a limitation on toleration as well. But as long as the religious beliefs which are tolerant toward others, they have to be tolerated, and the differences should be appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you for those comments. Thank you so much for this conversation, all of you. I now return the gavel to, I guess, Doug. Doug, are you there?
You're muted, Doug.
Sorry. This has been an amazing conversation. It is an example of what we hope this world will be. And to think that we are able to do this at this time, in this moment in history, is truly amazing. So I especially wanted to thank everybody who participated, the Tulu International Institute, the University of Quran in Macomb, the McDonald Center at Hartford International University, Dr. Mozaffari, Dr. Mosier, Dr. Landau, Dr. Shamali, and Dr. Hetzel for moderation, and Randall Paul for helping us with the questions. Those of you who are expecting credit for